Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is episode 8 in our series on the art of game design by Jesse Schell.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Hey, Matt. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm excited about today's session. I feel like we got some crazy stuff lined up.
Yeah, this is going to be a new experience for Switch Statement listeners.
Yeah, whatever.
I was going to say THKP listeners, but that is the umbrella brand.
Oh, man. Now we're just completely confusing things with all of our naming schemes.
Dude, I don't think we should hide the fact that Switch Statement is a THKP production.
That is the money overlord behind us.
Yeah, that's the dark, shadowy organization.
Ooh.
What does THKP want? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. World domination.
All right, as the viewers, and they are viewers, presumably we're uploading this to YouTube, can tell, we are using Tabletop Simulator today. And these two people, purple and green, are locked in a mortal battle. But why are we here? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, so we're going to attempt to prototype for our game. And I think this is a good place to start because it allows us to do some cool stuff. We can add all sorts of crazy stuff to the world. And we can quickly prototype and iterate on ideas.
Yeah, I mean, so this is everything that Jesse Schell talked about. We have an idea. Some of the risks we talked about last time were, maybe the game is too annoying to play physically, or we don't even know how the mechanics should work. And this is a way to investigate some of these mechanics and do some rapid iteration. So our goal, I think, here is for us to come up with a straw man set of rules and see if we can kind of start to play through a game. And obviously there's only two of us, so it'll be some simulation, but yeah. So let's get into it. Do we want to put a box? I know you talked about having boxes.
Yeah, so this was one thing, this was an idea where we talked about the game being like a 4x4 grid of tiles. But maybe instead of just tiles, it's actual cubes. And this would be so that each cubes have 6 faces, and depending on how the gods interact with the game world, the cubes would flip to a new face. So, for example, you might have a forest, but if the fire god burned the forest down, then you would have just plains or something. And then if the fire god burned that down, then you would have a desert or something along those lines.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think we're misusing there's got to be an arrange, and I will comment, as the viewers have probably determined, we are not pros at Tabletop Simulator.
We have no idea what we're doing.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, this is the big thing, and I immediately want to go to the Blender shortcuts.
Oh man, maybe
which
we should
be legit. Should we just do this in Blender?
Maybe. So this is what I was imagining. You have your 4x4 grid, maybe bigger. I don't know. We'll have to tinker with that. You have gods that maybe live along the sides of the grid. Yeah, maybe this is a god. Maybe this green dude is a god. So I imagine some gods could live in the game world itself. I'm not sure exactly how that would function, but you could potentially move gods from tile to tile, and then if they're on a specific tile, that would be where their power is invoked. And then players would have control over, let me bring some figurines in here. So players would have control over figures that also exist in the game world. And players would have certain abilities, it's a music player. But for instance, a player might be able to build a house, or we had discussed a church. which I think would be cool.
I think let's try to scaffold out some rules.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we should start with, what does game setup look like?
Yeah, so I think game setup, you'd build the grid. Perhaps it would be randomized.
So maybe what you could do is like, each one of these is essentially a die. So you could roll each one of them and then keep faced up. Maybe that's annoying though. You have to roll 16 die.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
it could be like a boggle.
Yeah. I like that. So there's
Where
some
you shake it
mechanism
up.
where you can roll them all at the same time.
Yeah. So that sounds slightly difficult. There could just be a default starting setup.
Yeah, I think because obviously you want balance. I'm imagining
Yes.
a player might start in the corner and then another player might start in another corner or something. So the randomized dice might be a little weird because you might have situations that are really bad starting situations. So maybe having a rote setup.
Yeah, that could be part of the fun though. Okay. And so you're saying, okay, let's say in our situation, there's one kind of god DM, and then there are two players. So do they select? They pick players pick a color token.
Yeah, I think players would pick who they want to be, color token. I don't think the color has any bearing on anything. Like everyone.
Yeah, let's start with that for right now. There's no special abilities right now.
Yeah, so this might be.
And then
let's just change the color.
the gods. So let's say for right now. So we're saying there's 4 gods.
Yeah, why don't we just pick an arbitrary number? 4 sounds good. There's four sides.
Okay, and then there's like a defined starting position.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds natural to me.
But it is interesting because it sounds like they have there are elements that have unique effects.
I like that. I like fire god, maybe a water god. You could potentially have a Gaia god or something.
Ooh.
Who has the ability to create animals, or something along those lines.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
we-
So you said like a water god, a fire god. We said Gaia god.
Yeah, maybe
And then-
I'm just tossing ideas out, but we also had mentioned like a lightning god potentially that could strike down thunderbolts.
Okay, so there's a lightning god, a water god, a fire god, and a Gaia god, which I like Gaia god. The idea that I liked for the gods the most is that they actually have a position. There's just 16 positions around the outside. Is that right? 16, 1, 2, 4 by 4.
Yeah.
Like they can be aligned on any of these columns. Can you see my cursor on your screen?
I
by the
can,
way?
yeah. And I think I understand what
Okay.
you're saying. I like it.
So let's start to set that up. Let's say now, was this one of the gods? This green guy?
Yeah, this was when I was mentioning Gaia god. I don't know. Maybe Gaia would meander throughout the world and you could activate him and he would create like a cow or something. Maybe that's a resource.
Okay, so a Gaia god doesn't do the access or these external orient or positioning.
Yeah, I feel like I'm complexifying things. I think we can keep all the gods on the external spaces for now and just see how that works out. Because
Yeah.
a god meandering in the world is a bit of additional complexity that.
Okay, I agree with. I think we can get there, and I think that's a really cool. I almost think that potentially is maybe that would be like a spirit or something. Like it's a different thing, just to keep it clear.
Nice.
Okay, so these are our gods. So let's say, yeah, okay, that's good. They all have these orientations. So let's say, okay, I'm just gonna put this one. Okay, grab. All right, I'm going to put this one here, scale them down a little bit. I don't know, just to randomize it a little bit. Okay. And so which god is which? I'm going to make this one yellow, and this will be the lightning god.
Lightning? Okay, I'll make this dude red. He'll be fire.
Okay.
And then this one can be blue.
Okay. Which one's blue?
The
lion?
griffin, yeah. Or whatever that is.
Okay. Oh, it's a griffin. And then what was the other one? Oh, this is the Gaia god.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. And so I guess these are our player pieces. Oh, I see. I see what you're doing. So you're saying like some of these tiles are, what are the different tile values?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think, oh man, that's so annoying. Just like clicking it causes it to explode. Like we can start with just common values. Like we could have plains, forest, water, maybe
Yeah,
desert.
forest. What about like a volcano?
Yeah, I love
Like
that.
a kind of like that, like basically just like fire tile.
Yeah, flame tile. How many was that?
Yeah, it's hard because you have to do some. I guess you could just make it an arbitrary like flame tile, but and because I guess maybe what if the fire god touches? Maybe there could just be two elements. Maybe it could just be like fire and water, and these are actually like continuums on the fire water spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take a volcano tile and you add water, it becomes a desert tile. If you add water, it becomes a plains tile. If you add water, it becomes a forest tile. And if you add water, it becomes just like a river.
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know, is there another tile that it should be?
How many is that?
That's 5. I'm just thinking of 6 just because of a cube.
Yeah.
You could have one that's unused.
We could have a straight up ocean, like maybe a lake.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Okay, so there's a river and then a lake. I do like the like duality, like that kind of feels nice in a way.
Yeah, I like that too.
So it's a river and then it's a lake. Just in complete ignorance of just like how physics works.
We don't need physics.
We don't need physics. But this is cool because I feel like each one of these things could be useful in different contexts. Like maybe you need a volcano to like smelt things
Oh,
and make like different kinds of ore.
yes. I love that idea. And yeah, maybe like a lake tile can't be built upon because it's just water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's water and fire. Is lightning just like a chaos god? It's like a trickster god. It does surprising things.
Yeah, so I'm thinking lightning could destroy structures potentially. Because
Yeah.
we've talked about having structures, and maybe that's like a big part of the game is trying to, like you just mentioned, setting up a smelter, which I love. And so maybe each player is trying to reach certain like societal advancement stages. And so they're building structures to achieve those, but the other player is trying to undermine that. Or I guess this is cooperative, so yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but
I like this fire water spectrum that tiles have. I feel like that kind of clarifies things. And it feels like a good mechanism.
right. I also like it because I had imagined the gods as their powers flowing outward,
Yes.
and lightning or water and fire just match that pattern really well.
What's cool is I feel like you can just imagine the way propagation works much more
Yeah.
easily, where it's okay, if it starts from this tile, like whatever it is, when it touches it, it bumps it in that direction by 1. Ooh, okay, maybe we could, instead of having a lake, we have something that's like wasteland and it can never come back from being the wasteland.
Oh.
And then that could be like a lose state. I don't know, just a proposal.
No, I like that. Yeah, because I don't know if we have like a losing state right now.
Maybe that's the next thing we can talk about is, okay, what does winning, like, how do you win the game? And like conversely, is there like ways to lose early? Which I think like maybe if a certain number of your tiles become like wasteland, then maybe you like insta lose.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe winning. All right, I'm just going to completely spitball here. This is a random idea. It might be terrible,
Yeah.
but like maybe winning involves building like a monument to the gods. But in order to build the monument, you need to have resources like maybe you need to smelt a piece of metal. Maybe you need to get like glass, and the only way to get glass is to have lightning strike a desert.
Oh, yes. This was one thing I was saying is like, would want lightning to have an upside. Lightning is all bad thus far,
Right.
but I do like the idea that there's something that lightning is useful for.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely want all the gods' powers to be like good and bad under different situations.
Okay. This is interesting. What you're alluding to is like you need to create some resources.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to get too complicated right now, but it's like the next thing that comes to mind is maybe there's a couple of different monuments, and you need to figure out which one you want to shoot for based on the initial conditions.
Oh, I really like this. That maybe makes it easier for a randomized board.
What do we think the possible like inputs to a monument could be? I like what you said about glass should be very difficult to make. Maybe some of them require steel.
Yes. Yeah. Steel, which has to be smelted at a volcano. I love that.
Okay, so there is iron, which is like slightly less, like the requirements are less intense.
Right.
Wood, maybe. So we talked about, because obviously there's like the forest. So maybe in certain ones you just need like a shit ton of wood.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's one where like it's easy to get what you need for it, but you need a lot of it. It could still be risky to go for it because, if something interrupts your wood production, then, you're just not going to make enough. Do we want like a turn limit?
Maybe.
I would like to avoid the game going on forever.
Yeah. I like games where there's sort of this like intensity which just builds. Maybe the lightning god, or maybe all the gods, just become more and more active and the world eventually just crumbles. All the tiles become the horrible tile.
Okay, yeah. I do like the idea that they get restless.
Yeah.
Like if you're not making enough progress towards like building the temple, like they just start becoming like very erratic.
Right. It sounds very in character for a god.
Before we move on, we have glass, we have steel, we have iron, we have wood. And then glass requires like a god so lightning god strikes desert. Okay, how do you get steel? I guess maybe you need to take iron, and then do you take iron to a volcano?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe like tiles produce resources. So let me create like a wood resource here.
But maybe only when a person is on that tile.
Yeah, maybe the person needs to cultivate it or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like person plus forest equals wood. Okay.
And maybe you would need to activate. Yeah, like I imagine some resources might require a god to produce them. So maybe Gaia, like you'd need to activate Gaia in order to like produce the wood or something.
Those are going to be the ones that are more inconsistent to create. Like glass, for example, like you literally need the lightning god to strike the desert.
Yeah.
In order to produce glass.
So would you need to be on the tile as well?
It's interesting because we haven't really gotten into what the prayer mechanism looks like, but maybe that's how it works. Like maybe you pray. Oh gosh, you could imagine like your person dying. Should your person die and be turned into? All right, sorry, this is like maybe
a corpse,
macabre, but it's almost like a sacrifice. You need to like sacrifice one of your players because we talked about the ability to like reproduce. Yeah. But okay, I think it should just be if the lightning god strikes a desert tile, regardless of your presence or absence, it will. Like, I think if a lightning god strikes a tile, like anyone who's on that tile should die, I think.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I like the idea of death. I also like the idea that maybe a tile could produce a resource and then you'd have to go pick it up.
I like the idea. That's an easy lose state. Everybody dies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and maybe you die under a bunch of different conditions, like not just lightning. Because I can imagine you could die in a volcano or you could die in a lake.
And obviously the fire, like, I think any of the actions of the gods should kill a person who's on that tile. I don't know, maybe that seems absurd.
No, I also like that. I think the game should be difficult. Not like super difficult, but losing should be, maybe if you play 100 games, you might lose like 20% of the games. So I think I'm fine with having a lot of different scenarios where players are dying.
One thing we talked about is like, that the gods might actually have a couple of different spells. Let's say this water god casts flood. What this is going to do is it's going to be like boom, water, boom. It's like waterify, and then that's like for the next 4 turns, like that's going to happen. If you're on one of the tiles that gets waterified, I don't think you should die. That just doesn't seem
right.
But let's say the god casts like torrent, and then maybe that jumps 1 tile 2 dimensions along the spectrum.
Yes.
If you're on that tile, like you should die.
Yeah. No, I love that. I also love the idea of maybe the normal water spell like percolates slowly. Like maybe it actually takes a few turns to like finally finish. And players have the opportunity to maybe get away from it. But if you do leave a player in the path, like that player dies. I feel like this has really helped to crystallize some of the ideas.
Actually, I feel like recipes is actually a very powerful concept. Like, you have a recipe for glass, and the reagents are, well, nothing. And, okay, let me try to articulate what I mean, and then we don't need to, like, spend all of our time thinking about all the recipes we want. But it's like, a recipe is optionally maybe every recipe needs to take place on a particular tile.
Or range of tiles.
Okay, it has a location. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Required tile type. It has like reagents, and then I guess that's it, right? Oh, and then optionally a god action.
Do we want to have to build a building in order to make certain things?
Oh, I see. So maybe
we mentioned like having this.
Maybe you have a
like a smithy on the volcano tile.
Oh, okay.
That is interesting because I feel like that creates this mechanic where you want to protect certain tiles and like prevent them from shifting. So if the water god is trying to hit a volcano tile that has your smithy on it, there might be some form of intervention where you can prevent it.
This is interesting. Okay, so we have this idea. It sounds like we're talking about this idea of a building. And so some buildings might require a tile type. So so let's say maybe you do want to protect a building. Maybe the only way to do that is to pray to the fire. Let's say, let's say a smithy can only be on the volcano.
Yeah.
And you have a flood that's coming towards your smithy. You may just need to pray to the fire god at the right time to like cancel that action.
Exactly. I love that. So yeah, maybe prayer would build up like a prayer resource, and then you could spend that resource to like prevent you can prevent one tile from being influenced by some godly power.
Very cool. I mean, I think the one thing that we still don't have is like what it feels like to play, like the play testing essentially. And I think we also just need to spend some time coming up with these like reagent recipes and like the buildings.
Yeah, no, this works super well for kind of the high level prototyping and iterating quickly on ideas. So I think this was pretty awesome.
So I think we can wrap up there. So hopefully this was, I don't know, I know that I found this very useful.
Yeah.
Next time we're going to be going back to the book. But yeah, and these chapters are all about mechanics, right?
Yeah, so I think these chapters will help us with these nitty-gritty mechanical details, and then maybe we can have another session like this where we discuss the mechanics in more detail and flesh them out.
And maybe we can get some other people to play it for reals.
Yeah, we need someone to be the gods.
Yes. All right, let's wrap it up there. We will see you all next time on Switch Statement.
All right, see you, Matt.